Let's move on, shall we? Cavaliers' first-year head coach David Blatt is aware his team is being picked by many, including odds makers, to win it all this season. But Blatt says, pump the brakes on the championship talk. Here's his quote. Anybody talking about us winning it all, I think, is being unfair to those great NBA teams out there that have either won it or been there to win it. And also to us as a team that is talented but new. We have a lot of work to do before we can start claiming anything. Dion Waiters also backing up that claim, saying Cleveland has not won anything yet. Skip Bayless,
Yes.
Do you agree with Blatt?
I do not, Stephen A. And yet, look, some of the points that new coach Blatt made are very valid, but it is unfair for David Blatt to say that it's unfair for the Cavs to be picked as prohibitive favorites, because this is a welcome to the NBA for David Blatt. You, my friend, are now coaching LeBron James and Kyrie Irving and Kevin Love and down the line. I'm sorry, nothing but unfair expectations are going to come with your job. And it was the first little glimmer of what this man is made of, Stephen A. Maybe he's going to be a little overwhelmed by the throne upon which he's going to sit as the head coach of this team from game one on.
I can't say that, because I think if it were Greg Popovich, if it was the great Larry Brown and others, their mentality, or at least what they verbalized, would be similar. I don't think they would have gone as far as to say it's unfair to those other teams. I think they would have just said, we're not going to get caught up in that. We've got a lot to do. We've got a 22-year-old point guard. We've got a new power forward who's 6'10" and can shoot lights out but never played in a playoff game. He's at 26 years of age, and we've got the best player in the world with LeBron James, but only 5 players are on the team that were on last year, so you got a whole new roster. They would take that into consideration. I think when you listen to what David Blatt had to say, the only turnoff was that he tried to say that it was unfair to have expectations. He was certainly not Jimbo Fisher for the Florida State Seminoles, who embraced the expectations and the challenge that comes with it. That's what you want to hear from a potential champion. We didn't hear that from him, but I'm not going to sit there and act like that's a reason to denigrate him. I just respectfully disagree.
Well, is it fair to say that if you suddenly have the privilege and the honor of coaching one LeBron James, who is the consensus unanimous MVP pick again for this year, even though he didn't win it last year, but hey, then if you're going to be prohibitive favorites in the East, I think that's okay. I mean, isn't that par for the course?
Well, in the East, but he's talking about the championship.
Yeah,
he's talking about winning the championship as opposed to getting to the finals.
All right, Stephen A.
That's what he was saying. That's what he could make the argument. That's what he was answering.
We got 1 minute left, Stephen A. Again, tonight you are in New York City, your hometown, Skip's hometown as well, and you're watching the Bulls take on the New York Knicks. Tomorrow, you're in Cleveland. You will see when King James play the Knicks as well. What do you expect?
That's right. Well, I expect the New York Knicks to play competitive tonight, and for it to be a really good game at the Garden. I expect the Knicks to get blown out in Cleveland tomorrow night, and then obviously I'll be in Chicago on Friday for LeBron and D. Rose going up against one another in Chi-Town.
I got
it's a beautiful week.
Knicks tonight.
A beautiful week.
I got Cavs big tomorrow night.
All right. Stephen A., world traveler. You belong on the Spurs team, actually. So we are done. We'll see you tomorrow at